Hi, this is James Garden, the Senior Tech Geek, and I'm here with Bill from EditShare. Now, I'm at EditShare this year, which is NAB 2016, because I'm doing a lot of talking about high dynamic range and the need for 4K as part of the high dynamic range deliverable standards, and that's putting a big strain on the requirements of the infrastructure of a lot of post-production facilities in the world. And Bill here, he supplies a lot of this infrastructure to the post-production studios of the world. So I thought I'd come and talk to him about his new product and what he sees and the questions that have been asked of him by these companies who are looking at moving into the realm of 4K and high dynamic range. So how's it out there in the front line of supplying these services?
Well, I would say what we're seeing in the customer base and potential people interested in going in this direction is an awful lot of confusion.
Yeah.
You know, they hear the word 4K, but as you know, it can mean a whole bunch of other things. But you know, when you really get to the pointed end of the spear, 4K for us means strenuous, demanding workflows. And it's things like high dynamic range that are really driving the need for new software, new storage implementations, even new asset management systems.
That's right, yeah. I like to push to a lot of people, like 4K's been around for a while, but the traction for people to move to it hasn't really been there. And one of the big stories this year is that high dynamic range has a lot of traction this year.
Yeah.
But with you can say high dynamic range has baggage because you need to be 4K to do it, right? So I keep saying this over and over again because you're saying there's confusion. I'm trying to help with that confusion. Now, your new product, what's it called again?
It's called Extreme EFS SSD. Obviously, it's a flash-based server that we've designed specifically to support 4K workflows.
That's right. Now, it's an interesting product because one of the big things, if you, like me, I've done some videos on high performance networking, possibilities for post-production studios, and there's lots of protocols and confusion and other bits and pieces, and it's hard to navigate. Now, you've actually produced your own software client.
That's right. So we found that the only way we could, so let me take a step back. I mean, our legacy storage products have always supported all of what I call the jack of all trades network protocols, AFP, Samba, NFS. The thing about those is they have to support so many different systems and so many different sources and destinations, they're very general. So they do lots of things well, but nothing particularly
That's right, I agree
perfectly.
with that, yeah.
So we took a look at that and said, you know what we need to do? We need to design a replacement for those kinds of network protocols that do a better job. So what we've designed that goes in, that we accompany all of our storage with, is a native client. We support it in 3 flavors, one for OS X, one for Windows, and one for Linux. And one of the biggest differences between the legacy protocols and ours is that it's multi-threaded. So you can imagine that a multi-threaded environment is much more able to deliver performance than you can with the single-threaded older alternatives.
So what we're talking about here is 10 gigabit in typical copper, in typical fiber or QSF, and QSF Plus, which is 40 gigabit.
Right.
So those are all supported by your platform.
Yeah, of course, that's on the business side or the hardware side of the product, but yes, forever we've supported 1 and 10 gig. I believe it's safe to say that EditShare was the first storage vendor to support 10 gig Ethernet, and we're now routinely supporting 40 gig installations. Specifically, this particular system that we introduced this year can be equipped with either 10 or 40, but to give you an idea of what that has the capability to deliver, over a single, ordinary 40 gig interface, 40 gig Ethernet by the way, we can deliver something like 30 or 32 gigabits per second.
That's right, yeah. So
which is a huge amount of data.
That's a huge amount of data. It's 4K workflow type data.
Right.
Now let's, the last part of our discussion, another topic I've been trying to cover, and you mentioned it before, is the IPization of the infrastructure.
Right.
SDI being replaced, the copper-based SDI or the coaxial-based SDI replaced by IP-based infrastructures.
Yes.
What's your opinion? What's happening in that market? Is there a resistance? Is it stalling? You would expect that market to have evolved more than it has. What's going on there?
Well, first I'll say that some of some of my answer is shaped by my perspective of actually being in this business when it was analog over coax and then SDI over coax, and then MPEG and compression and all that changing the landscape. I think it's not unfair to say that there's still a lot of people in the broadcast industry who consider their network as separate from the IT network that's running the business that they're in. I think there's a lot of people who are afraid about networking protocols. Name a broadcast engineer that who's Cisco certified, right? It doesn't happen. So I think it's not a matter of people wanted to try to keep it out of their turf, but I think they genuinely need to understand what is the true capability of replacing SDI or higher forms of SDI with more generic network infrastructure. We're supporting it today. We're a member of the Aspen Coalition, which is a newly formed industry organization, but I think we're years away, and I think it's going to take ratified standards to make it practical. And obviously, we're IP-based in everything we do, so the goes-intas and the goes-outas of our products will have those flavors someday.
I completely agree with that, and I think it's going to be a big. I think it's going to be really good for a lot of facilities who don't need to have dual infrastructure, SDI, coaxial in the future.
Exactly.
Fiber optic is really where I think it should be. The latency and other aspects of no lost frames, etc.
That's right.
It's really good. It's a very good solution for the need of a post-production facility. But it will take time to learn. I think some of the issues have been like just the complexity in the QSF and the fiber optic types and the prices. There's a lot of confusion there.
Yep.
And that has to we have to slowly learn that. It's not actually that hard. You just need to know what you're looking for.
That's right.
It's a lot harder than just a blue cable, but because that infrastructure is actually used for a lot of long haul, transit sort of infrastructure, and you have to sort of know where the line exists from when we're doing in a facility and or you're a telco. And once you understand those issues, it becomes a lot easier to understand, a lot easier to answer those questions, and the path forward becomes clear.
I agree with you completely. Thanks so much.
Bill, great to talk to you. Great to get some information from the
front lines.
That's exactly right, the front lines. Anyway, that's James Garden, the Senior Tech Geek at EditShare for NAB 2016. Bye for now.